Welcome to Stories Worth Hearing. I'm your host, John Quick, and today we have a very special guest, nine-figure roofer. He goes by on social media. His name is Bob, and he is making some of the best content on the internet, in my opinion. It's very inspirational. We're going to dive into everything. So without further ado, Bob, welcome to the show.
This will be very exciting. We were just chatting a little bit beforehand. You are the coolest thing on the internet as far as I'm concerned. You hit the demographic of people my mom's age. You're inspiring people my mom's age, myself, my age, and my kids' age. That's pretty rare to get somebody that's be able to inspire all three genres there. So talk to me a little bit about what inspired you to start making these videos, because my guess is, reading some of your bio and all that, you don't really need to do this. You've been successful, you've sold a business, you could probably just sit and sip Mai Tais on a beach somewhere. What inspired you to take this concept and just go all in with it?
Honestly, Jonathan, I think it was I don't want to say it was an accident, but I had this thought. So I'm 29 years sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. I used to live in a Volkswagen. At one point in my life, I was homeless for a period of time, probably close to a year. I was on food stamps. I've asked people for spare change. I've been at the bottom, right? And I think that's like why I have such an easy time connecting, because I know what both sides of this coin in life are like. And one of the things that you do when you get sober is you make amends. And I've made all the amends years ago. I've been sober for a long time. But I always figured there was like these people that I could never find and never make amends to. So I thought to myself, how do I make amends to the people that I've harmed that I'll never know, right?
Yeah.
When I was 15, I was skateboarding around the neighborhood. I would run in open garages and steal cases of beer, right? And go to the woods.
You never know who you're never going to meet those people again.
Exactly. So that was my thought. And I had this thought that I was going to take a sign, and on the sign, I was going to put reverse spare change, honk if you need help, and stand on the street corner. So I was in Vegas, and I had that idea like 4 years ago. Never really did. I was like, someday I'm going to do that. I was in Vegas with my girlfriend at the time, and I met up with a guy who's a pretty big internet personality, Vukum, my friend Tyler, who sells watches online. He taught me baccarat. I turned $900 into 10 grand in like 45 minutes. I said, you know what? I'm going to take this, and in my brain, I'm gonna go give this away. So I got home and I started all those accounts on December 4th. I made nine-figure roofer because we've grown our roofing company to almost 200 million last year.
Damn.
I did have a very successful exit to private equity 3 years ago. I retained a small percentage, enough to keep me excited for, the next bite of the apple. So I grabbed a couple guys from work, made a couple signs, went to the street corner, hold the signs up. People are pulling over to give us money. And I said, no, this is reverse spare change. So I'm giving money away. And over the course of a 2-day period, I gave away that $10,000. And it felt absolutely amazing. And I took some videos and I put them on TikTok, and they got like 250,000 views, 500,000 views. I'm like, oh, that's really good. I made nine-figure roofer like the moniker across every platform, and I bought the domain. And I'm like, I'm just going to build out, this as a brand. Like, it's roofing that gave me the life that I have today, right? So I got some traction there. And the next day I went and I'm knocking on doors, random doors in like a rundown kind of section of town, or an area where I know that they would need a little more help. Let me put it like that, not rundown. And so I go there and I knock some doors, and I walk up to a house. There's some kids playing outside. I said, hey, is your parents here? They said, you can knock. I knock. The woman comes. I start talking. Hey, Bob, Pro West. We had a great year just helping people in the community. Get money for Christmas gifts. I give her $500. We had a moment. The three kids, I said, there was three kids outside of their yours. She said, the one is, the other two aren't. So the other two that weren't hers, I gave them each $100. And I said, do you have any siblings? And the girl says, I got a brother, but he's not here. And I gave her another 100. I said, go give this to your brother. You guys have a great Christmas. And they ran off. 2 minutes later, 5 minutes later, I walk across the street. This woman comes walking up and she said, did you just give my kids that money? And I said, yeah. She's crying. She said, you have no idea how much that helps. We're getting evicted and we're about to be homeless. And I was like, how much is the eviction? And my friend Matt was with me. He flew into town. She says 2,300. So we pull out 2,300. No, sorry, 1,800. We pulled out the 1,800 and we had an extra 500. So we gave her 2,300 and we said, here's for some food as well. Right. And I posted that video. I posted the video. I apologize. My dog's barking in the background. And about an hour later, I get a call from a friend of mine in South Carolina. And he says, Bob, I saw the video that you just posted. He said, "That woman with her son that was standing there holding the dog." I said, "Yeah." He said, "That was me when I was a kid." And this is a very, very successful guy. I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, I'll never forget where I came from." He said, "I'm going to send you $50,000. I want you to change their life." I said, "Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?" He's like, 100%. Monday morning, he sends me a wire. I get back a hold of the woman. I say, I get her an Uber up to the office. She comes into the office and I say, "Hey, you're not going to believe this, but I know we helped you with the eviction. One of my subscribers, followers, and also a friend saw the video and wanted to help." I said, "What's your property management company?" She tells me. I said, "Get them on the phone." She calls them up, $18,600 to pay for the rent for the year, 1550 a month. I go get her cashier's check for that. She didn't have a vehicle. We bought her like an $8,500 car and then gave her 22 grand in cash. Yeah, dude, that was like, I felt at that moment like, yo, this is what I'm gonna do full time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gave her, between me and my buddy, 2,300 plus the 300 I gave to 2,800 bucks. And my buddy, who's way more successful than I am, uh, threw down 50 grand. And I thought, if I can inspire other people, like we can like make huge change in people's lives. So that's kind of like where it all stemmed from. Then the next day, I was at a Walmart, had the meta glasses on and a pocket full of money, and this guy's walking out, and I was like, "Yo, receipt?" Like I worked there. He's like, "Oh," like just automatically handed me the receipt. And so it was like 302 bucks or whatever. And I'm like, "It's reverse receipt day," and I gave him 300. He's like, "What?" And I put that video up, and that got 10 million views on Instagram. And I was like, "Dude, this is amazing," right? So that's kind of how it started. And I just got into making up like different associations, federations, coalitions, you
Yeah.
name it.
It's so you're
I
like, "I'm from the National Card Association."
Yes, yes. I made all my money in life by going door to door. So as a door to door sales guy, you got to kind of think quick on your feet. And the other piece of that puzzle is like, you have 20 seconds at the door to turn a stranger into a friend. It's also my goal when I'm connecting with people, right? Is like, I got a very short period of time to turn this absolute stranger from my made up coalition, you know what I mean, into a friend. Because I noticed that sometimes there's like pride gets involved, right? When you try and give some people money, they're like, "No, no, no, I don't want no charity," and it's like, dude, we're at the dollar store. Drop the pride. You know what I mean? So it's been amazing. I'm probably averaging right now about 100 million views a month across all the platforms. And I'm up to like over 1.5 million subscribers across all the platforms. I think people think you get rich off views. That's not true. I think last month I brought in $16,800 like off the views, but I give away 40 grand a month. I'll
Yeah,
be
you're
happy if I
spending
catch up
way
to
money.
I'll
You're
be
not
happy
doing
if
this to make money.
no, I'll be happy if I catch up to myself and I'll continue to give it all away. You know what I mean? It's really like, I said this to you when we were first talking in the beginning, but this has changed me way more than it's changed anybody else. How I think, how I see the world. People are like, "Bob, you always find the right person." And for a while, I believed that. But then I thought to myself, am I finding the right person or is there just a lot of people really hurting? You
I
know what I
think there's
mean?
a lot of people really hurt.
There's a lot of people really hurting for sure. I definitely find a lot of like right people, like good people. And there's been a lot of synchronicity, I'll call it. But it's, there's a lot of people really hurting. So,
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about, this kind of stuff makes, I think, just an amazing case for, like, why do we even watch TV anymore? Because it's scripted, it's fake, it's all those things, even reality TV show.
yeah,
Somebody can tune into your 3-minute video. It's not scripted, it's authentic, it's it's rough, but it kind of hits at the heartstrings of what people are wanting, and that's to be inspired when they get on things like social media. So tell me a little bit
sure.
about, did you have a thought process behind, "We're just gonna go out and do this and see how it does it"? Because most people would be like, "We need the perfect camera, we need the perfect mic, I need to have, like, now that we're big, I need to have, like, 2 cameras," and, like, but it
No.
seems like you've just kind of said, "We're just gonna go out and do it and see what happens."
When I started doing this, I've been roofing for 16 years, right? And we sold our company for over $50 million, and I had two partners. So we chopped that up. You give some money to the attorneys, the investment bankers, and you're left with a big chunk, life changing. And I was already good when that happened. And I see a lot of people in the industry like flexing, right?
Yeah.
Like all over social media, there's like, here's my Lamborghini, here's my Ferrari, here's this, here's that. And I just get sick of seeing that shit. And dude, I have my dream house, I have the Ferrari, I have this, I have that. I don't care about any of that stuff. I would never put it on social media. You know what I mean? So my tagline in the beginning was maybe we can start a movement to like flex generosity,
Yeah.
right? Like that's way more powerful and leaves a way bigger effect. The truth is, when my great grandkids who are never going to meet me are being told about their great grandfather 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, none of that other shit matters. But if there's this collection of kindness and generosity being paid forward around the world, that's something that will stand the test of time. And to me, it's kind of like leaving a legacy and teaching my kids what's really important.
What do you think is in it in you that has inspired this? Is it something that your parents taught you? Was there a moment in your life where you can look back on and say, it's unique for somebody to have generosity be something that they care about, especially if they already have money. And so I think it's really cool. Can you look back and say, that was the moment in time that I made generosity a big deal in my life?
You know, I've been I can't really think of the moment, but I can tell you that I've been extremely generous before I had money, right? Like as a guy that used to live in a Volkswagen and follow the Grateful Dead around and came from some pretty grimy moments in life, right? Some pretty lonely and desperate places. I've always had a soft spot for people that were in the same boat. Before I had money, when I was starting to get sober and get my life together, I would grab like people that I would meet that were just getting sober off the street and give them a place to crash for the night. That's service, right? That's generosity. And I've done that dozens and dozens and dozens of times. At one point, we owned a drug and alcohol treatment center and we put 150 people through for free, right? And it probably cost in real money 10 grand to give somebody treatment. But dude, when you're talking to someone's mom and their son is overdosed for the third time and she's crying
Yeah.
saying, I don't have money and I don't have benefits, like I'm like, all right, fuck it, bring them in. You know what I mean? And we had a good treatment center. We probably gave away a little too much in that particular scenario. But I could tell you when it really all made sense because I didn't realize I was being generous back in the days when I was taking a homeless dude and giving him a couch to sleep on.
Yeah.
I think when it made sense was this. I learned roofing in the summer of 2011. I worked a big hailstorm in Kansas for a good company and somebody that was a friend that owned the company. And I knew that when I got back there, I just found what I was really good at. Right. And I came back to Arizona me and a buddy started the company. And my goal at that time, I thought to myself, I mean, I'm a guy that's got, 100 hours of tattoo work. I got, you know, a lot of friends that have a little bit of a checkered past, but they're good people, right? That
Right.
maybe just got caught up when drinking or drugs or whatever that are sober now. So I thought to myself, I'm going to teach these guys that don't really have the opportunities to make six figures a year how to sell roofs and make six figures a year. And that was the whole focus. Roofing was the first, and I've struck out at a lot of things before I hit it out of the park. And roofing was the first thing where I was like, my focus is to like teach these dudes how to do this and make the money. And in my brain, I've always been into like manifestation, like this is what I'm gonna have, and then I get it. Right. So it was replicating myself and watching that happen and taking a guy who was maybe locked up for a few years on a couple drug charges and teaching that guy how to live a legitimate, healthy life and how to make a killing for himself. That's kind of when like the success took off. When I put the focus on other people instead of like, yo, I want the mansion and the Ferrari and this and that. When I started putting the focus on other people is really when the humongous success came.
Yeah, and that's, most of every other kind of walk of life as it relates to businesses would give up wouldn't even give those kinds of people the time of day because they would say, "Oh, he or she's been to jail," or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it it's kind of a sore spot in America, right? Because it's almost like, "Oh, that's them over there." these are just people like you and I that made maybe a shitty decision once or twice.
Yeah, or maybe they just got caught where you and I didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't.
I've
And
certainly done some things that coulda got me some time in the past, right?
uh, that's probably the case more often than not. They just got caught.
I
The
mean, you look, I say that jokingly, but there's probably some real truth there. I think that, it's kind of amazing, like, even at the company now, we created an app called From the Yard to 100K, and
Nice.
so One Solutions Pro West is in on like, all the prisons have tablets now for the prisoners, right? And so they get these tablets, and we have an app on the tablets, and all these prisoners get to watch our app that we put there in our roofing company. And we're actually like a couple months ago, we're doing a training in Texas on Zoom with some COs and 30 or 40 inmates that are taking our course in there,
That's
and we're
cool.
teaching them the sales pitch over Zoom. And I'm like, yo, what like this is amazing. You know what I mean? So it's and then they get to follow the lineage of people starting at the top, like, and people that have come out before them, it's just kinda getting paid forward when they come out the doors. So it's been incredible. Like,
One
really.
A couple of the videos I watched, you mentioned that you prayed beforehand before you got into
Yeah, yeah,
this.
yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how faith has played a role in what you're doing. My guess is it's a pretty big part, but would love to hear from you on that. I think that a lot of people either don't talk about that side of their life or are scared to or don't want to offend. Talk to me a little bit about how that's played a role in what you're doing.
I've gotten to the point in life, which is really kind of the ultimate freedom, where I care more about what God thinks than what people think. So, I could tell you that, like, of myself, I end up living in Volkswagens, doing a bunch of drugs, and being, whatever. When I When I, uh, when I found a power greater than myself is when life began to change, right? So I I have a lot of faith. I believe that between, that we can move mountains. You know what I mean? There are times, and I don't do it every time, but there's times like when I'll walk into a store and I'll be like, God, just bring me to the right person."
Yeah.
So I do think that there's some of that. I've had a lot of strange occurrences like that. Let me tell you this. This is fucking crazy. I'm sorry to swear on your podcast.
You can cuss all
So
day long. It doesn't matter.
did you see the video last week from New York City with the guy on the bike?
Oh, yeah, that's the first one I saw, actually. That's the very first one I saw.
Check
Like, I
this is
just saw your stuff last or maybe, like, a week and a half ago.
right. Jonathan, this is the craziest story ever. I'm in New York City, which I'm never in, a city of how many million people? 10 million?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of people.
Right. I randomly flag this guy down on the bike. He pulls over. You see the whole interaction. I say, add me on Facebook, add me on Instagram. I gave him an extra 100 at the end. I said, go give that one away. Right. The guy adds me on those. We part ways. And he says, you're not going to believe this. This is like hours later after I already posted the video and he gave away 100, blah, 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 blah. This is like the next day. I said, not going to believe what? He said, dude, look at this. He sends me a screenshot of a Facebook message that he sent on February 27th. I can send it to you. And he said, I just came across your videos. I love them. I hope someday to meet you in person.
That's freaking amazing.
Dude, are you fucking kidding me right now? Tell me that's not God.
Yeah. Yeah, what are the chances? Literally
Dude, no,
probably, like, 1
think
less
about
than
that.
0.01% of that he'd
And,
ever meet you.
and we're randomly in New York City with no plan,
Did
right?
he to
We're,
find
he didn't find me. We're at Central Park, and then we're walking away. We're at a couple watch stores, and then we decide to make a right up the street where we were going to go straight. And then I see a homeless guy give that dude 300 bucks. He's like laying on the floor. And then I see a dude flat coming down on his bike, and I'm like, hey. And he was like, shut up. You know what I mean? So that whole interaction took place. So how crazy, because dude, my face is not in these videos. I prefer the
Yeah.
spotlight to be on kindness. I'm not one of those guys that's like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to like inadvertently it's happening where there's like real momentum on a recognition kind of
But you're
standpoint, but
you're you're very rarely on the videos.
I don't care to be on the
Yeah.
videos, right? So the dude didn't know my face just by driving by me at 15 miles an hour on his e-bike on the sidewalk. Dude, I'm just blown away by that. That out of anybody I could have flagged down, it's a dude that saw my videos and sent me a Facebook message months earlier.
That's the same is that the guy you did the GoFundMe for?
Yeah,
That's
did the GoFundMe for him.
I'll put that
Last I
link in the
saw was a
podcast
couple days
description.
ago. Yeah, we had raised like 8,500 bucks for the dude. And to top it off, like he did give that money away, but now he's posting videos of giving more money away. And he's not giving away $100 bills, but he's giving a few bucks here and a few bucks there, and it's awesome. I fucking love it. I love it.
Well, I mean, for him, that's a lot of money, and it's the he's got the, the fire for generosity now.
100%. And that's the goal of the channel, right? I hope that, like, I know what I'm capable of. I know that I can give a few hundred grand a year away, and I'm not really gonna feel that. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's not gonna affect my kids' future. It's not gonna affect how I live, but so many more people need help. So I'm manifesting that some guys that have way more money than me get moved and jump on board with me and help me do this and really put it on steroids. You know what I mean? That's gonna happen.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be mindful of your time, but I do have a couple more questions if that's all
I'm
right.
good for the
Okay,
record,
yeah,
Jonathan. It's
yeah. Tell me a little bit about, you know, your perspective of it sounds like you didn't grow up with a lot of money. You had to kind of learn how to hustle and bustle. Tell me a little bit about how that's affected or impacted how you operate today, because I find it very intriguing. I have folks from all walks of life on this podcast, people that grew
sure.
up in a lot of money, people that didn't grow up in a lot of money. There seems to be a uncanny drive for folks that have either maybe not grown up with a lot of money or hit rock bottom that then come back to the top. Tell me a little bit about how that's played in your life.
I so I certainly wasn't rich, but we weren't poor either. I mean, I remember growing up, like, my earliest memories is I think there was 5 of us in a three-bedroom house. I shared a room with my brother, my sister had a room, and my parents, right, in a townhouse. And my dad kinda worked his way up in this company, and I would say, by, like, the mid-90s, he was probably making 150 grand a year, which was a lot in the mid-90s, you know what I mean? And he was doing well. But certainly, it's not like I had a silver spoon in my mouth. I mean, I definitely got my way, don't get me wrong, right? Like, life was good, but it's not I don't really know how much that affected me. If anything, it probably gave me a little bit of fear because I watched my dad working 60 or 70 hours a week to get ahead, and he did that my whole life, and I thought to myself, "I don't wanna end up like that." Like, I don't wanna be working from 8 AM till 7 PM, till 8 PM, till 6, you know what I mean? I don't wanna work 60 hours a week for the next 40 years. Like, I wanna find a way to really enjoy my life, and there's nothing wrong with that for people that do that or need to do that, but I just knew it wasn't for me, right? I'm
Yeah.
very kind of ADD. I certainly am probably, I got lots of, like, ADD, OCD, you name it, right?
You got all the DDD.
I do. My mind probably goes way faster than I'm capable of going, and sometimes it works, right, when it comes to, like, coming up with a random coalition at a stranger,
But it sounds like
But
you did hit kind of a rock bottom with drug stuff, right? Is that
I definitely did, yes. My parents were, I mean, my mother, you gotta picture my grandparents were from Italy. My mother is, like, this very stereotypical Italian mom, like, you make sure you're, like, I'm 53 years old right now, she still treats me like I'm 15, right? Like, in real time. So when I was kinda bottoming out, I mean, there just came a spot where when your kid's on drugs, you gotta kinda cut them off, you know what I mean? And I wasn't completely cut off, but, I was more ashamed to be like, for them to even see me how I was. I mean, I got a picture that I post every year on my AA anniversary. I put on my social media of when I have one picture of myself when I was homeless on drugs. I'm probably literally like 80 pounds less than I am now, and I'm not large. I'm just this skinny, 20-something-year-old that has a lot of bad habits, and it's a reminder of where I never wanna go back to.
What advice would you give somebody who's listening in? We got a lot of the folks that listen to this podcast are new entrepreneurs or soon to be entrepreneurs, or they're thinking about maybe they're in that 9 to 5, thinking about how the hell do I start a side hustle? What advice would you give somebody who's hesitant to even start or doesn't, you know, is very on the front end of their journey?
You get one chance at this thing. I'm a guy that was like, "Burn the ships and don't look back." If I'm gonna strike out, let me strike out. What am I gonna end up homeless? I've been there before, you know what I mean? So I don't mind striking out. What I do mind is not stepping up to the plate. There's nothing worse than that. I think that's the failure is in not trying, in my opinion. I knew what I was good at when we started the roofing company. My partner at the time, Matt, he's one of my best friends. He had a really good mind for business, and I was really good at one thing, talking to strangers. I could go knock on doors all day long. I could put the most houses I ever put under contract in 1 week is 28. The most I ever did in a day was 12, right? So I
Okay.
could go and find 12 strangers to put their house under contract for a roof, or 28 in a week, or whatever. Like that was my lane. And so I surrounded myself with people that were really good in the areas where I was weak. So I think it's really important that people are humble enough to be self-aware enough to know what they're not good at.
So, what if I'm a guy or a gal in prison listening in and I just heard you say something about you have an app, you have these kinds of things. What are some opportunities for them as it relates specifically to you? Where do they go? How do they find out more about this kind of stuff? Because there will be folks that are listening in that are be like, I got a cousin in prison or I got a brother.
Sure.
What they
It's
get
the
shit
number
together.
9-figure roofer on every platform.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for me to. I literally get tens of thousands of DMs. Like, I can't read. I mean, I read the DMs, like, at night when I get in bed, and I probably if 1,000 came in that day across all the platforms, I might get through 50 before I'm falling asleep with the phone in my hand. You know what I mean? So if I it is hard to respond. That being said, at Nine-Figure Roofer, at Instagram is the best place to reach out, because, like, I have my assistant go through the messages that come in there and my daughter sometimes. So that's the
But
best.
you do have an app that's like yard to roofer thing, right? Where
It's
they can
totally separate though.
totally
Yeah, so
separate.
that's
Okay.
separate. So Nine-Figure Roofer is my personal brand.
Yep. Yep.
And then Pro West One Solutions, that's the company we sold to private equity and I'm still have some ownership of, right? So when we're in the prisons, that's through Pro West. But if
Nice.
they want to reach out directly to me when they get out, I'll make sure that we get them plugged in and that they have work. And we'll teach them. I can teach anybody how to make the money.
So,
Legitimately.
yeah, what's next for you? I mean, your channels have literally hundreds of millions of views. The beauty about what you're doing is you don't really need to do it, and so it produces probably the most authentic thing in you. So, but what's next? Are you going to keep doing this? Is there, something else down the road that you want to accomplish or do? What's next for you in the next, 6 months to a year?
Yeah, I'm in the process of putting some plans together that I don't want to talk about at this very
Nice stuff.
moment. But they're good plans. They're amazing plans. I'm going to continue to grow the brand, and I am going to build a home services brand around Nine-Figure Roofer. Uh,
Nice.
and I'm going to make sure that an extremely large portion of money that comes through the door goes directly to helping people. That's the plan. That's the short of it. We'll do another podcast in 6 more months.
That's cool. Well, like I said, I really appreciate you coming on and going a little extra on the time. You know, for folks listening in, I want to encourage you to go back and listen. If you just caught the tail end of this, go listen to the whole thing. Go check out his Instagram, his TikTok, his YouTube. It is the best thing on the internet right now. And I don't want to spoil it if you're just listening to the tail end of this, but go and follow him on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. You will not be let down. Bob, you got any last minute thoughts here before we head off?
I think there's nothing more important than connection, human connection. I feel, just to go back to what you said about, like, you asked me about faith. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm doing exactly what God wants me to be doing, right? I'm sure of it. I would say have faith and make connection with people.
Yeah.
There's really nothing more valuable, right? It's so easy to, like, give your kid an iPad, or, you go out to dinner, or, maybe, like, everybody's on their phone or whatever. But I mean, dude, it's something I feel like has changed over the years. So dive in there. It's all about connection.
Yeah. Everybody put down their phones after you watch this episode.
Yeah,
Remember.
that's a really good point. It's slightly hypocritical of me, but I think balance is important,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
For
Yeah, yeah.
sure, balance is important.
Well, I appreciate it, Bob. It's really cool to see somebody making a actual impact on real people and not doing it for the PR aspect of it. And I think that that is one of the things that I really appreciated from watching you is I could tell that this is a guy who doesn't care about being in front of the camera. He cares about helping people. And that's really cool because you and I both know that there's Instagram and social media is flooded with all the gurus trying to do cool things for followers. And that seems like the opposite of what you care about. You actually are caring about helping real people in real time with a tangible thing, which is cash. And so I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. It's very inspirational. And you're welcome back anytime on the show.
I appreciate it. It's only the beginning. You better expect big things, Jonathan.
I love it.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, I'm gonna press